Welcome, athletes and coaches. Today, we dive into aerobic and anaerobic training. At the highest levels of any paddle sport, every stroke, every breath, and every second counts. Elite paddle sport athletes rely on a finely tuned balance of aerobic and anaerobic energy systems to maximize performance, and the heart plays a critical role in both. Your heart is the central organ of the cardiovascular system, which works to deliver oxygen to the muscles. While aerobic and anaerobic training strengthen the heart over time, they stress the cardiovascular system in different ways. In dry land training, practice, and competition, we are training our cardiovascular system to push its limits so that it can support high-intensity intervals and long-distance races, as blood flow delivers oxygen and nutrients, fueling muscle contractions and improving recovery between sprints. The heart of an elite paddler is a powerhouse, adapted for both endurance and explosive power. But like any high-performance engine, it requires targeted training and recovery to maintain peak output. This is why structured training plans, for both on and off the water, are important. Sport-specific progressive exercise is the ultimate tune-up for the competitive sport level and every elite athlete's heart and muscles. Whether you are aiming to nail an explosive start or finish, a powerful sprint, or improve your endurance to paddle those longer distances, optimizing every physiological system for performance is key. You must create a periodized training plan, with each month, week, and session designed with a progressive purpose, especially since every single athlete you are competing against is striving for those same marginal gains. Whether you're a world champion or a rising star, the science of training applies to you. It's for the seasoned veteran chasing milliseconds, and the next generation pushing boundaries in the sport. By tracking measurable physiological progress such as a higher VO2 max, improved lactate threshold, and increased power output. It is important to keep in mind that as an athlete, when you train, you're not just burning calories. Your ultimate goal is actually to build a more efficient, powerful engine. Treat every session as a thank you to your heart, your muscles, and your mind for their relentless work. Today, we'll break down the science behind aerobic and anaerobic training for paddle sport athletes. Aerobic capacity or anaerobic power. Chances are you're already training both systems, sometimes without even realizing it. Understanding the difference is like unlocking one of the secrets to peak performance. It helps you target every session for maximum adaptation, whether you're building endurance with long, steady paddles or sharpening speed with all-out sprints. We'll break down how aerobic and anaerobic training work, the physiological adaptations they drive, and how to combine them for a stronger, faster, and more resilient athlete. The word aerobic literally means with oxygen. This is the key to understanding what it is and what it means to your training. When you're doing aerobic exercise, your breathing and heart rate increases for a sustained period of time. Your body is working hard, but not so hard that you can't keep going. It's using oxygen to turn fuel, fats, and carbohydrates into the energy you need to excel. So, how does it feel? During aerobic exercise, you should be able to hold a conversation even if you're a little breathless. It's within that huff and puff zone where you are breathing moderately, but not completely gasping for air. The heart's function during aerobic training is to meet the demand for oxygen throughout the body. Training aerobically increases cardiac output as the heart beats faster and more powerfully to meet the increased demand for oxygen during sustained, moderate-intensity activity. Regular aerobic training makes the heart more efficient, resulting in a lower resting heart rate because the heart can pump more blood with each beat. Added bonus, regular aerobic training helps control blood pressure, lowers triglycerides, and raises good cholesterol, which reduces the risk of heart disease. Now let's take a closer look at anaerobic training. If aerobic means with oxygen, then you've probably guessed it. Anaerobic means without oxygen. Of course, that doesn't mean you stop breathing. It just means you're working at such a high intensity that your body's demand for oxygen is greater than the supply. To create energy really fast, your body uses a system that doesn't rely on oxygen. It breaks down glucose stored in your muscles for quick, explosive energy. Imagine you're sprinting to catch a bus. You're going all out as fast as you possibly can. You can't keep that pace up for very long, can you? After about 10 or 20 seconds, your legs start to burn, and you're gasping for air. That's anaerobic exercise in a nutshell. It involves short, intense bursts of maximum effort. Because it's so tough, you can only sustain it for a very short period before you need to rest and recover. It's all about pushing your limits in quick, powerful explosions of movement. So, what are some classic examples of anaerobic exercise? High-intensity interval training, or HIIT, is a perfect example. Explosive starts, that last push to the finish line, or when you're pushing to lift a heavy weight for just a few repetitions. The heart responds rapidly to the high intensity of anaerobic exercise by sharply increasing the heart rate, stroke volume, and blood pressure. It also leads to the buildup of metabolic byproducts, such as lactate, in the muscles. Training in the anaerobic zone challenges the heart to pump more efficiently, which increases the body's lactate threshold, allowing for longer periods of intensity before fatigue sets in. After intense training, the heart rate remains elevated for a period to help the body recover and return to its normal state. This process requires a higher consumption of oxygen and is known as post-exercise oxygen consumption, or EPOC. So, we've met our two contenders: steady aerobic training, explosive anaerobic training. Let's put them side by side to really see how they differ. The biggest and most obvious difference is the intensity and duration. Aerobic exercise is like a marathon runner. It's all about lower intensity over a longer period. Think of a 30-minute jog. In contrast, anaerobic exercise is like a 100-meter sprinter. It's maximum intensity for a very short burst of time, like a 20-second all-out sprint followed by a rest. You simply can't maintain that top-end pace for long. The next big difference is how your body fuels the movement. For aerobic exercise, your body has plenty of time to use oxygen to break down fats. Carbohydrates for a steady supply of energy. It's a very efficient, long-lasting energy source. For anaerobic exercise, you need energy right now. Your body doesn't have time to wait for oxygen, so it taps into the sugars stored directly in your muscles for that instant, powerful burst. This is why you get that burning sensation in your muscles. It's a byproduct of this rapid energy creation process. Let's talk about the goals. The primary goal of aerobic training is to improve your cardiovascular endurance and efficiency. You're training your heart and lungs to work better over time, allowing you to go for longer without getting tired. The main goal of anaerobic training, on the other hand, is to build muscle power, strength, speed. You're teaching your body to produce a massive amount of force in an instant. Both are incredibly valuable, but they achieve different things for your body. One builds the engine, the other builds the horsepower. Think about how you feel during and after. During an aerobic workout, you feel consistently active, a bit sweaty, breathing heavily but controllably. Afterwards, you might feel pleasantly tired and even energized. During an anaerobic burst, you feel an all-out maximum effort. You're left completely breathless. In the rest period that follows, your heart is pounding as it works to recover. Afterwards, you might feel more fatigued in your muscles, but also incredibly powerful and accomplished. They are two very different feelings for two very different types of effort. So, how does all this talk about running and lifting apply to something like paddle sports? Whether you love stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, canoeing, you're actually using a brilliant combination of both aerobic and anaerobic energy systems every time you're out on the water. Understanding this can completely transform your paddling and help you get even more out of it. Let's break it down. It's a perfect example of how these two systems work together in a real-world sport. First, think about a long paddle on calm water. You're paddling at a steady, consistent pace, maybe even taking time to enjoy the scenery. At this rate, you can keep going for an hour or more. Your heart rate is elevated, you're breathing rhythmically, and you can chat with your friends. This is your aerobic system in action. Now let's inject some anaerobic effort. Imagine a friendly race to a buoy, a power piece, or adding some starts or finishes. For short pieces, you paddle as hard and as fast as you can. Muscles burning, breathing ragged. You give it everything. That's a pure anaerobic burst. By now, you can probably see where this is going. The big question isn't which one is more important to increase your overall speed. Aerobic training? Anaerobic training? The real magic happens when you bring them both together in your training routine. Relying on just one type of exercise is like trying to build a house with only a hammer. You might get somewhere, but you'll be missing out on so much. Combining them gives you a complete, well-rounded training plan that makes you stronger, faster, more resilient. They complement each other perfectly. Think of it this way. Your aerobic training builds your base. It creates a super efficient engine with a big fuel tank, but it's crucial to do it safely to avoid injury and keep your motivation high. The number one rule is to listen to your body.
Don't try to go from 0 to a 1-hour heat session overnight. Begin with steady-state aerobic paddling for 45 to 90 minutes or more at a consistent moderate intensity.
Increase your distance over time, focusing on proper technique, posture, and a smooth cadence. Off water, you would focus on exercises that strengthen paddling muscles with exercises such as planks, Russian twists, and medicine ball chops for your core, bent over rows and resistance band exercises for your back and shoulders, and single-leg deadlifts, weighted lunges, and Bulgarian split squats for balance. Add in longer interval anaerobic pieces and alternate between high-intensity paddling with recovery periods of rest and active rest. For example, sprint for 30 seconds at max effort, followed by 90 seconds of easy to moderate paddling repeated in cycles of 8 to 10 times. Prioritize mobility work, and yoga will help to promote recovery between sessions, as recovery is a critical component of training. Creating a strong training base. Increase your aerobic pieces to build sustained endurance for longer races. And lastly, cross-training with other low-impact activities like swimming, cycling, or hiking will work different muscle groups to improve your overall performance.
And there you have it, you've got the basics down.
Just remember, when starting any new training plan, gradual progression and listening to your body can help prevent overuse injuries. Hydrate, especially during long paddles, and consume carbohydrate-rich snacks like energy gels, dried fruit, or a protein bar to maintain energy. And for added help to incorporate aerobic and anaerobic work into your training plan, check out this month's downloads for charts on heart rate training zones, perceived exertion, and training suggestions for distances.